Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Former President Trump has long flirted with QAnon, but this illustrated meme he reshared last week with QAnon slogans and a Q on his lapel is one of his most brazen endorsements of the conspiracy theory. On Trump's social media platform, QAnon followers saw the president's post as a clear sign he is with them and with QAnon. One post read, "At this point, anyone denying that Q was a legit operation affiliated with the Trump administration is in major denial." Another read, "At Real Donald Trump has over 4 million followers, yet he seeks out Q people to retruth."
Now to the latest in the Trump presidency. President Trump announcing this afternoon the reimposition of sanctions against Iran. He tweeted out this movie-style poster that appears to take inspiration from Game of Thrones. The photo says sanctions are coming November 5th. The sanctions on Iran had been lifted under a 2015 nuclear pact negotiated by former President Barack Obama. HBO, for its part, responded, "How do you say trademark in Dothraki?"
In the early days of the Q movement, Anons wondered when the media would ask the question about Q to Trump. Well, on the 15th of August 2020, Trump dodged the question.
And I wanted to ask you, you congratulated Marjorie Taylor Greene in a tweet. You called her a future Republican star. Greene has been a proponent of the QAnon conspiracy theory. She said it's something that would be worth listening to. Do you agree with her on that?
Well, she did very well in the election. She won by a lot. She was very popular. She comes from a great state, and she had a tremendous victory. So, absolutely, I did congratulate her. Please, go ahead.
On QAnon and her decision to embrace that conspiracy theory. Do you agree with her on that? That was the question.
Go ahead, please.
And 5 days later, on the 20th of August 2020, the mainstream media again asked the question about Q, but this time Trump responded.
During the pandemic, the QAnon movement appears to be gaining a lot of followers. Can you talk about what you think about that and what you have to say to people who are following this movement right now?
Well, I don't know much about the movement other than I understand they like me very much, which I appreciate. But I don't know much about the movement. I have heard that it is gaining in popularity, and from what I've heard, these are people that when they watch the streets of Portland, when they watch what happened in New York City in just the last 6 or 7 months, but this was starting even 4 years ago when I came here, almost 4 years, can you believe it? these are people that don't like seeing what's going on in places like Portland and places like Chicago and New York and other cities and states. And I've heard these are people that love our country and they just don't like seeing it. So I don't know really anything about it other than they do supposedly like me, and they also would like to see problems in these areas, like especially the areas that we're talking about, go away, because there's no reason the Democrats can't run a city. And if they can't, we will send in all of the federal, whether it's troops or law enforcement, whatever they'd like. We'll send them in, we'll straighten out their problem in 24 hours or less, okay?
Well, at the crux of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind? Or
Well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, you know, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to put myself out there. And we are, actually. We're saving the world from a radical left philosophy that will destroy this country. And when this country is gone, the rest of the world would follow. The rest of the world would follow. That's the importance of this country.
Trump wasn't asked about Q again until the 16th of October 2020, when he was interviewed at an NBC town hall by Savannah Guthrie, who seemed determined to corner the president on the issue.
I denounce white supremacy.
Okay.
And frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning down our cities that are run by Democrats who don't
All right,
know what
while
they're
we're
doing.
denouncing, let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true
So,
and that disavow
I know-
QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that. I know nothing about it. I do know they are very much against pedophilia. They fight it very hard, but I know nothing about it.
They believe it is a
If you'd like
satanic
me to
cult run by the deep
study
state.
the subject, I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are and how vicious they are, and I know how they're burning down cities run by Democrats, not run by
Republican
Republicans.
Senator Ben Sass said, quote, QAnon is nuts and real leaders call conspiracy theories conspiracy theories.
He may be
Why
right.
not just say it's
Can I be
crazy
honest?
and not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me
tell
ask you
all
another
about
thing.
it. Let's waste a whole show. You start off with white supremacy. I denounce it. You start off with something else. Let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
I do have one more in this vein.
Let me just tell you what I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia, and I agree with that. I mean, I do agree with that, and I agree
But
with
there's
it
not
very
a
strongly.
satanic pedophile
I have
cult
no
being run
idea.
by.
I know
You
nothing
don't
about
know
that.
that? Okay.
No, I don't know
You
that. And
just
neither-
this
and neither
week.
do you know that.
Okay.
But how can we be reasonably certain that Q is the real deal? From almost 5,000 crumbs or posts dropped by Q, there are hundreds of confirmations or proofs that have been set up by the Q Team Patriots. Some are small and subtle, unlikely coincidences of spelling and timing of Q drops with Trump tweets. Some enormous and unmissable, and a few splendidly silly, like Q being challenged to put Tip Top into a Trump speech, and it actually happening. Q has often asked the question, how many coincidences before it is mathematically impossible? Well, the Q proofs are designed in such a way as to give President Trump and the patriots involved in the plan plausible deniability to the world, whilst providing discernible confirmations to the anons and autists whose heightened pattern recognition skills enable them to pick up on even the most subtle coincidences. There are hundreds of these proofs, so let us now go on a journey through 50 proofs from the early days of Q, to better understand why millions of people all around the world believe that Q is indeed a real military intelligence operation. proof number 1. He walks among us. Here we see Trump providing Anons proof that he lurks on the chans. It is important to note that this happened over a year before the first post by Q. On July 30th, 2016, President Trump tweeted the account Patriot Pepe, whose display picture clearly shows the cartoon frog. Someone then created a thread titled, "Trump retweets Pepe account." This graphic shows the reaction of the Anons on the thread on 4chan. "It's happening, bros, I repeat, it's happening." Then shared a link to Trump's tweet. The next person said, "It's 3 a.m. What the fuck's he doing up?" A bit further down, the anonymous user said, "I tweeted this to show I listen. This is the only post I will make." Moments later, another Anon asked, "Mr. Trump, if you do actually lurk here and you like this meme, please use the word amazing somehow in your next tweet. This will be a wink and a nod on the down low that you appreciate all of us here. Thank you." Well, coincidentally, in his very next tweet, Trump said, "Colorado was amazing." Q proof number 2. Q equals 17. It was exactly 17 years and 1 day since Trump first announced his run for office in October of the year 2000, to the date when Trump won the election in 2016. One of the more basic forms of code used by the Q team is the interpretation of letters and numbers. With Q being the 17th letter of the alphabet, both President Trump and Q try to put an emphasis on this number whenever they can.
I want to know really, who are the 17%? Who are they? Who the hell are the 17%? Anybody in here from the 17%? Don't raise your hand, it may be dangerous. 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17. I was probably in Washington in my entire life 17 times. True, 17 times. I don't think I ever stayed overnight. You know what I'm getting at, right? So I've been there 17 times. Again, I've only been here about 17 times. We have it down by a period of a number of almost 17% this year. And when I heard it, I thought they made a mistake. I said, "You are not real. That's not a real number." And it is very much a real number. So Kellyanne and all of the people that have worked on that, to think that it's 17% in 1 year, that's a tremendous achievement. Thank you very much. 17, 17, and 17, 17, 17, 17. 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17. I spoke to him 17 minutes ago. I hung up the phone as you're coming in. 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17. So you had 17 Republicans plus me. 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, planning it for 17 years.
Q proof number 3. Consecutive Qs. This Q-incidence happened on the very first day that Q posted on October 28, 2017, when Trump ended one of his tweets shortening the word quarter to Q when talking about the economy. What is interesting to note is the tweet also featured an emphasis on a form of a storm. Timestamps are important in the Q proofs, and here we see that Trump's tweet with a Q is at 8:22 a.m. and Q's first ever post was at 16:44 p.m. There are exactly 8 hours and 22 minutes between Trump's tweet and Q's first ever post. And Trump's tweet in this example was at 8:22 a.m., which is Trump verifying Q's legitimacy. Also on the same day, the next 3 consecutive tweets posted by President Trump were about the JFK conspiracies, which is very coincidental that he would post about that specific subject just 30 minutes after the first post by Q, considering how important JFK is in the Q drops, with many people thinking the good guy plan to combat the infiltration from within goes all the way back to President Kennedy's death. We also see that Trump posted just after 5 p.m., which is 1700 hours in military time, and if we add the 1, the 7 and the 9 from 9 minutes past 5 p.m. military time, we get 17. Q proof number 4. The Kingdom.
Let's play some video, if we could please, of a pretty stunning moment. Jim was talking about the publicity of this and how much we're seeing, but do you see that that chain around, the gold necklace around the President Trump's neck there? Well, Saudi King Salman presented that to the president. It's a gold medal. The collar of Abdulaziz Al Saud is what it's called, and it's the nation's highest honor. I want to ask you, Anuche, what do you make of, what is the symbolism there? What is the intention as he gives him that honor? Because already what we are seeing, the grandeur of this welcome, is so different from what we've seen with past presidents.
Donald Trump was honored by a very special traditional sword dance as he visited Saudi Arabia as part of his first foreign trip as United States President on the 20th of May 2017, just 5 months before Q's first post. Sword or saber dancing symbolizes honor and strength, so the Saudis never had this ceremony for Obama or previous recent United States presidents. It almost seemed as if the Saudis were celebrating Trump as some sort of king who freed them from the clutches of the deep state cabal. The big question was, would there be any changes within Saudi Arabia now that Trump had become the president? The United States has a very special relationship with Saudi Arabia. In 1950, Aramco, which is owned by the Rockefeller Standard Oil and Saudi Arabia, agreed a 50-50 profit distribution of the oil discovered in Saudi Arabia. The US-Saudi petrodollar agreement in 1974 created a system where the US offered military protection to Saudi Arabia's oil fields in exchange for the Saudi agreement to use only US dollars for oil sales. This agreement helped the United States maintain its global dominance after the collapse of the Bretton Woods system in 1971.
To Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets.
Saudi Arabia is mentioned many times in the Q posts, so let's review what Q said about Saudi Arabia in Q post 59 from November the 2nd, 2017. How did Saudi Arabia welcome POTUS during his trip? Why was this historic and not covered by the mainstream media? How did Saudi Arabia welcome Barack Obama during his trip? How did Saudi Arabia welcome Hillary Clinton during her trip? Why is this relevant? Not suggesting Saudi Arabia is clean by any means, but they play a role in this global game of risk. QPost 59 contextualizes Saudi Arabia's historic reception of Trump as a signal of global shifts, media manipulation, and strategic alliances. On November 6, 2017, Q then posted Drop 121. Why were the acts that recently occurred in Saudi Arabia so critically important? What US assets are in place in or near Saudi Arabia? What assurances were made to protect the kingdom? Who shot down the missile from Yemen? POTUS declassifies speech JAP 11.5. Was it really from Yemen? How do we know? Why is this relevant? Who are the puppets? Who are the puppet masters? Who pulls the strings? What provides power?
Meanwhile, confirming today that just 2 days after steering $400 million in cash to Iran in a covert payment timed to coincide with the release of American hostages, President Obama and his administration paid the Islamic Republic 3 times that amount, another $1.3 billion in interest, wiring that money directly to Iran in 3 payments.
What if United States elections can be rigged? How are JFK, Reagan, and Trump different from the rest? Why does JFK surround himself with family much like POTUS? What if it was bought and paid for? How would this be possible? Why are there no voting ID laws in place? What do you need an ID for? List, compare, laugh. What is the argument for not allowing voter ID laws to be enacted? Why are immigrants important? Muslim Brotherhood, votes, attacks. Why are illegals important? MS-13, votes, 187. Why is open border important? What did Barack Obama say on the campaign trail last year to illegals within the United States? What did Barack Obama encourage? Was this illegal? Who owns sizable stakes in voter machine companies? Who decides what voter machines are used in elections? Why are some important countries still manually hand counted? God save us. Q. Also on November 6, 2017, Trump said, massive military and energy orders happening, plus. And less than an hour later, Q posted Drop 123. Nothing is random. Everything has meaning, plus. At that time, there was a coup in Saudi Arabia where MBS Mohammed bin Salman held over 500 officials under arrest at the Ritz-Carlton, including dopey Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, who at the time was a majority shareholder of Twitter and who had publicly feuded with Trump, and who owned the upper floors of the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Las Vegas, where the Las Vegas shooting happened just a month prior.
Remarkable times in Saudi Arabia, the hugely influential Sunni Muslim kingdom. There's been an unprecedented anti-corruption purge with sweeping arrests of senior politicians and business leaders and members of the royal family. And a Saudi prince and 7 other officials have been killed in a helicopter crash near the country's border with Yemen, where Saudi Arabia is involved in a bitter civil war.
We drive in under police escort just past midnight. No one enters here now without official permission. The world's most talked about hotel, Riyadh's most palatial, most prestigious, now a gilded prison.
We have an active shooter inside the warehouse. A storm of gunfire raining down upon an innocent crowd. I know, but I have to stand up. A gunman perched on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Resort had opened fire on 22,000 concert-goers. First reports of shots fired as singer Jason Aldean performed. Initially, there was confusion, many wondering if the sounds were part of the show.
It's fireworks! It's fireworks! Stop! It's fireworks!
But they quickly realized what was happening.
We see QPost 92 from November the 5th, 2017. Seth Rich only mentioned because it directly relates to Saudi Arabia. Las Vegas. What hotel did the reported gunfire occur from? What floors specifically? Who owns the top floors? top floors only. Why is that relevant? What was the shooter's name? What was his net worth? How do you identify a spook? What can historical data collection reveal? Was there any eyewitnesses? Who? Was he registered as a security guard? Why is MS-13 important? What doesn't add up? Was there only one shooter? Why was JFK released? What do the JFK files infer? Was there only one shooter? Who was in Las Vegas during this time? What was the real mission? Speculate. Why are survivors dying randomly? What do each of these survivors have in common? Did they talk on social media? What did they say? Were they going to form a group? Why is this relevant? How did they die? What CIA report was released by WikiLeaks? Here Q is talking about Vault 7, which was about CIA hacking tools. What can control a car? How did the two of the survivors die? Car crash? How does this connect to Saudi Arabia? What just happened in Saudi Arabia? Who owns the top floors of the hotel? What happened today in Saudi Arabia? To who specifically? Was POTUS in Las Vegas that night? Yes, no. Why was he there? Who did he have a classified meeting with? Did Air Force One land at McCarran? What unmarked tail numbers flew into McCarran that night? Trace Air Force One that entire day. What do you notice? Classified. Q. The Mandalay Bay shooting was a failed assassination attempt on Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and maybe even President Trump himself. The deep state most likely used the shooting to create a distraction that would tie up all the Vegas cops and security while they carried out the assassination. MBS was in Vegas on the 1st of October 2017 to meet with Donald Trump. Trump's advanced security team exposed the plot in enough time for Trump to warn bin Salman, saving his life that night. This is the reason for the sword dance Trump got in Saudi Arabia. This is also why Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman created an anti-corruption committee on Trump's order a few weeks after the shooting. Then, on Remember the 5th of November, he purged the Saudi kingdom with mass arrests of a number of prominent Saudi princes, government ministers, and business people. The night of the long knife brought Saudi royalty and the elites to the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh. They thought they were attending a celebration. Instead, the doors were locked behind them, and they were all arrested. 2,000 bank accounts were frozen with 800 billion in the accounts, and 2 princes died trying to escape, one by helicopter. As I have previously mentioned, Trump then tweeted about energy, ending the tweet with +++, when Q later posted that +++ is code for Saudi Arabia, with ++ being the Rothschilds and plus being Soros in Q post 133 from November the 11th, 2017. Hard to swallow, important to progress. Who are the puppet masters? House of Saud, 6+++, 4 trillion plus. Rothschild, 6++, 2 trillion plus. Soros, 6+, 1 trillion plus. Focus on the above 3. Public wealth disclosures. False. Many governments of the world feed the eye. Think slush funds. Feeder. Think war. Feeder. Think environmental pacts. Feeder. Triangle has 3 sides. Eye of Providence. Follow the bloodlines. What is the keystone? We also see Q speaking about the events in Saudi Arabia in the next Q post 134 from November the 11th, 2017. Why were the events in Saudi Arabia extraordinary? Who was arrested? What will bank records provide? List names, family history, investment ownership stakes, and point-to-point contacts. Example: Alaweed, Huma, Barack Obama, Citigroup, United States control. Why is this relevant? House of Saud. House of Saud, US control. Follow the money. What power shift recently occurred? Was a new king appointed? Coincidence? Dark to light. Why is this relevant? One side of the triangle removed. First time in history. Other sides falling. Plus. Q. Also on the 11th of the 11th, 2017, Q posted drop 140. Wealth over generations buys power. Power over generations buys more wealth, control. More wealth and control buys countries and its people. Families combined, triangle, equals NWO. Inner TRI families will collapse. What is the keystone? What nation dominates all others? What nation has influence over most others? What is the keystone? Return to Saudi Arabia. Strings cut, plus plus plus. Puppets, plus plus plus. In shadows. Each side of the triangle controls a certain subsect of power brokers. Power brokers are also labeled as the puppet's servants. What is the New World Order? Why did POTUS receive a sword dance when visiting Saudi Arabia? What does this mean culturally? Why is this relevant? What occurred in Saudi Arabia? How did POTUS remove one side of the pyramid? What did POTUS receive while visiting China? Where did POTUS dine? What is the significance? What if China, Russia, and others are coordinating with POTUS to eliminate the New World Order? Who controls North Korea? Who really controls North Korea? Who controls several agencies within the United States, EU, and abroad? Why is no such agency so vital? Enormous scale of events currently ongoing. Why is Russia helping to kill ISIS? This is not easy to accept nor believe. Crumbs make bread. Operations active. Joint missions underway. The world is fighting back. Refer back to Graphic, The Great Awakening, Snow White, Iron Eagle, Jason Bourne 2016, Dream, CIA, Q. The Saudi coup happened a little over a week after Q's first post, and at the time this proof really grabbed the attention of a lot of people on the chans. Q proof number 5. Alice in Wonderland. A few weeks after the Saudi purge on December 19th, we see in Q post 392, Ananon asks Q, "Where are the children?" And Q replied that the worldwide trafficking lanes were being shut down, and over 3,000 children were saved by the raids in Saudi Arabia alone. Q has mentioned Alice and Wonderland in 28 posts, dating back to November 2017. Then in mid-2018, a batch of Hillary Clinton emails were released via the Freedom of Information Act. Ananon found one email in which then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was addressed as Madam Alice, with the email signed Hatter. On August 31st, 2018, Q posted drop 2046, where Q shared post number 83 from November the 4th, 2017, which demonstrated Q referred to Hillary Clinton as Alice. 10 months prior to this email being released. Simplified, Alice and Wonderland, Hillary and Saudi Arabia. References, Hillary Clinton in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, Saudi Arabia, The Bloody Wonderland. And then Q asked, "But how could we know?" and shared a link to the email. This validates Q as being an insider with high-level security clearance, who had access to this information before it was declassified. The book Q referenced is a book called Hillary Clinton in Wonderland, includes quotes from the campaign trail, and the first line of the article, Saudi Arabia, The Bloody Wonderland, from 2016 reads, "The fact that one of the principal allies of the self-proclaimed champions of democracy is routinely beheading people makes one feel like they're living in Lewis Carroll's surreal Wonderland." Later that day, Q clarified the code that the deep state used. Hillary equals Alice and Saudi Arabia equals Wonderland. We see Q post 2049 from August 31st, 2018, where Q shared a screenshot from a previous Q drop from 2 weeks earlier which said, Saudi Arabia access closed, Epstein Island access closed, Haiti access closed, North Korea access closed, China, access closed. Russia, access closed. Cuba, access closed. Sudan, access pending. Government, Saudi Arabia, United States push. Syria, access pending. Government. Yemen, access pending. Government, Saudi Arabia, United States push. Libya, access pending. Main port closed. Limited. Somalia, access pending. Saudi Arabia, United States push. Q. Hillary Rodham Clinton equals Alice. Saudi Arabia equals Wonderland. Who are the white rabbits? Reread drops in relation to Saudi Arabia. Have faith for God and country. Q. Then in Q drop 2050 from August 31st, 2018, Q shared links to an article about how child marriage is still an issue in Saudi Arabia, and another about how Saudi migrant workers are subject to abuse, and also a link to the 2015 Trafficking in Persons report. Q then said, Saudi Arabia was a priority. We wish this was a dream. Q. President Trump has previously called for the millions of dollars donated by the Saudis to the Clinton Foundation to be returned. It is interesting to note that these donations from the Saudis to the Clinton Foundation dried up once Hillary lost the 2016 election. Q has also said in Q drop 3605 from November 19th, 2019, that pay for play only works when you hold a position of power. Jeffrey Epstein also held a Saudi passport, and Epstein's lawyer claimed that Epstein helped devise the Clinton Global Initiative, according to a letter his attorney sent to federal prosecutors in 2007. So we can see how this criminal cabal are all linked.
Now, I'm going to take you back to the Saturday that Jeffrey Epstein was arrested. You may remember that Saturday, the FBI searched his $77 million mansion here in New York City. Now, we already knew that they found a safe in that mansion, and they opened it up and found hundreds, if not thousands, of photos of what they describe as seemingly underage women. They also told the court today that inside that safe, they found cash, they found diamonds, and they found an expired 1980s passport with Jeffrey Epstein's photo, but under a different name. And in their description to the judge, they said it was issued by a foreign country with an address for Jeffrey Epstein in Saudi Arabia.
Q proof number 6. Do it Q. On the anniversary of President Trump's election on the 8th of November 2017, Trump tweeted this image, and if you connect the thumbs in the photo, it makes a Q, which by itself is quite a coincidence, but more definitively, if you go to save the original picture form from Twitter, the randomly selected source code starts with Do It Q. Q proof number 7. Our Father. On the 14th of November 2017, we see in Q post 154 that Q posts the Catholic version of the Lord's Prayer in full. And a few weeks later, coincidentally, Pope Francis announced he was going to make a change to the Lord's Prayer for the first time in centuries.
So some controversy today from Pope Francis that has people sort of turning their heads a little bit on this one. The leader of the Catholic Church suggesting that the Lord's Prayer, the best known prayer in Christianity, which is prayed by not thousands, as I said earlier, but 2.2 billion people around the world, may undergo a little bit of an edit.
Later Q posted drop 306 from December 9th, 2017. News unlocks map. Future proves past. Why was the Lord's Prayer posted? Which version? Why is this relevant? What just came out in relation to the Lord's Prayer? What can be connected? Do you believe in coincidences? Review the map and post relevant news drops. Godfather 3. Q. Q proof number 8. Wonderful day. On the 20th of November 2017, Ananon asked Q, if you are reading this, get POTUS to tweet wonderful day. And the very next day, Trump made a tweet with the words wonderful and day in it. Q proof number 9. Small Business Saturday. On November 25th, 2017 at 2:35, we see Q say in Q Post 232, confirmed, go Twitter, P, act small. And 5 minutes later, President Trump then posted about Small Business Saturday. Q proof number 10, MAGA pill. On November 25th, 2017, Trump retweeted MAGA pill account, which at the time was a very vocal Q supporter. This is just one of many examples of Trump nodding to anons by retweeting pro-Q accounts.
How to cleanse the body after vaccination.
To cleanse the body after vaccination, one must first understand the magnitude of what has been injected. Beyond the surface ingredients, hidden adjuvants like aluminum salts, graphene oxide, polyethylene glycol, and undisclosed nanotechnologies infiltrate the body, embedding themselves into tissues, crossing the blood-brain barrier, and hijacking cellular processes. First, targeted detoxification of heavy metals becomes critical. Glutathione, the master detoxifier, must be replenished aggressively, as vaccination depletes it intentionally to leave the immune system vulnerable. Intravenous or liposomal forms ensure direct cellular absorption, bypassing digestive sabotage.
Elixir is here now and completely disrupting the health supplement market. Nothing else out there allows you to transform your daily routine with the power quartet of our proprietary Stasis nanotechnology glutathione, vitamin B12, vitamin D3, and MCT oil. Imagine starting your day feeling energized, focused, detoxed, light, vibrant, and ready to conquer anything. Glutathione is your body's master antioxidant, fighting off those nasty free radicals and detoxing you from toxins like heavy metals, microplastics, and forever chemicals. It has also been shown to help your body restore hair color and helps with memory and learning. And it helps maintain healthy skin and processes that reduce the signs of aging and degeneration. Elixir gives you the best nutritional foundation you can find in one supplement. The performance boost and results you gain from Elixir are far superior to any other supplement currently on the market. This is the holy grail of singular supplements today. With our advanced proprietary Stasis nanotechnology, the vital nutrients in our Elixir formula are absorbed immediately in the mouth, bypassing the hostile digestive tract, which gives you the boost you need, right when you need it. So why wait?
We see in Q Post 507 an anon said, thank you for confirmation so that we may move forward with established comms. And Q replied, graphic form for each correlation a must. This will be the authorization tool you use when all of this becomes public to provide friends, family, others. Do you think POTUS retweeted MAGAPIL for no reason? We chose this board for a very specific reason. We believe in you. Q. Q proof number 11. Memebers. On April 12th, 2018, we see another example of President Trump's alleged Twitter mistakes when he said he had a round table with the members of Congress. Q proof number 12. Follow the wives. In Q Post 247 from December 4th, 2017, Q says future proves past and says to follow the wives. So if you fast forward to 1 year later to December 4th, 2018, which is called a 1 year delta in the Q community, we see all the wives of the deep state members at the George H.W. Bush funeral getting a special message for them in the mass leaflet, followed by a look of absolute horror. We see Q Post 2608 from December 12th, 2018, where an anon on the board asks Q what were in the envelopes, and Q replied, our promise to counter. Trump then left the funeral before the casket left the cathedral. Q proof number 13. Wonderful Friends. On December 5th, 2017, in Q-Post 276, we see Q-Post 2 words, Wonderful Friends. Coincidentally, 2 days later, Trump posted, Melania and I were thrilled to welcome so many wonderful friends. Q-Proof number 14, BDT. On December 10th, 2017, in Q-Post 325, we see Q say, blunt and direct time. Then right after in Q-Post 326, Q said there would be a false flag and to expect fireworks. The very next day, a man from Bangladesh set off explosives in Manhattan, right in front of the stock exchange. BDT is the name of the currency used in Bangladesh. Blunt and direct time. Luckily, there were no deaths and only 4 injured, as the explosive device failed and the bomb was described as being as harmless as a firework. Then we see Q-Post 327 where Q says, do you believe in coincidences? Blunt and direct time. BDT. Think currency. Think fireworks. Thwarted. Message delivered. These people are sick. Q.
New details on the breaking news today. An attempted terror attack in New York City. 2 law enforcement sources telling CNN the suspect, a 27-year-old man, was living in Brooklyn and is of Bangladeshi descent. It all happened today during the morning commute, and it all went down below the Port Authority. The attacker, he is alive in the hospital, and has told police that he made the crude device at his workplace.
So I am also hearing from sources that had this bomb gone off as planned, it could have done a lot more damage. And of course, not only because of how narrow that passageway is, the time of day, how many people are trying to get to and from where they're needed to head.
Q-Proof number 15. Space Force. In Q-Post 443 from December 23, 2017, we see an Anon who worked at NASA lament the disregard for the space program, and we see Q assuring him that it will be coming back in a big way. The Anon said, I'm from SoCal. Everybody worked their ass off to win in space. So many people that made a lot of money in the 70s till 80s. It was a dream to make your country the greatest on Earth. So many dreams destroyed, a fountain of talent squashed and sold out. It really hurts. We really cried when we watched each shuttle launch and knew we did that. Q replied, it's coming back in a big way. Space is critical to our national security. Was terminated for a specific reason. Godspeed, Patriot. Q. On the 18th of June 2018, Trump shocked the world and confirmed what Q said, as we see in this clip.
It is not enough to merely have an American presence in space. We must have American dominance in space. Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the 6th branch of the armed forces. That's a big statement. We are going to have the Air Force and we are going to have the Space Force, separate but equal.
Q-Proof number 16. Washington on the Delaware. In Q-Post 456 from December 24th, 2017, Q posted a picture of George Washington crossing the Delaware River, and the very next day the Department of Defense posted the exact same picture. How many coincidences before mathematically impossible? Q-Proof number 17. Good win. In Q-Post 492, Q made a deliberate error and said win instead of when. We will never lose again when this is finished. Q. In Q-Post 497 from January 7th, 2018, Q points out that the win-when error in Post 492 was not a mistake. Q posted good win with the win in brackets twice, then 15 in brackets. So if we give whatever is in the brackets the value of 15 and it appeared twice, we get 15 plus 15 equals 30. Exactly 15 minutes later, President Trump tweeted thanking Michael Goodwin. In the tweet, Trump also made a deliberate error and deleted the initial tweet with a typo citing his consensual presidency, and 15 minutes later retweeted with the correct adjective, consequential presidency. Q then posted drop 503 and pointed out that Trump's misspelling was also deliberate. Original missing Q, revised including Q, coincidence, Q. Q proof number 18, fire and fury.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. He has been very threatening beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
In Q-Post 500 from January 7th, 2018, Q posted Fire and Fury, and the same day, Julian Assange's WikiLeaks tweeted a full free text copy of Michael Wolff's scathing book, Fire and Fury, inside the Trump White House, attacking President Trump, which affected the book's profitability and sales. There are only two differences in the copy. Chapter 6 spelled home with a Q instead of an O, and Chapter 10 also spelled Goldman with a Q instead of an O. Q then pointed this out in Q-Post 499 from January 7th, 2018. Do you believe in coincidences? 2 Q chapters. Q. Q proof number 19. Chain of command. The military also share clues that sync up with the Q posts that illustrate their support, as we can see here in this example from January 13th, 2018, where Q asks in Q post 521, do you trust the military? Do you trust the chain of command? We are fighting for life. We are fighting for good. We are at war. Not everything will be clean. Scare, necessary event. Do you trust the United States military? Do you trust the chain of command? Have faith. We are in control. Patriots. Patriots Day. Have faith. You are chosen for a reason. You are being provided the highest level of intel to ever be dropped publicly in the history of the world. Use it. Protect and comfort those around you. Where we go one, we go all. Q. Then 2 days later, the Department of Defense tweeted for their followers to tune into a National Geographic documentary called The Chain of Command, which was premiering that evening, where the show itself featured a 17-second clip of a soldier making a cup of coffee with a mug with a giant Q on it. The show featured General Joseph Dunford, who Trump said was one of the generals who recommended he run for the presidency back in 2015. President Trump often cites that he has support of the real generals, not the TV generals. And when I think of these real generals, former Joint Chiefs Chairman General Joseph Dunford is a name that comes to mind. President Donald Trump has previously said that General Joseph Dunford was an influence on his decision to run for the White House at a 2015 dinner of the Marine Corps Law Enforcement Foundation, which provides educational assistance to the children of fallen Marines and federal law enforcement officers, at which Trump and others received awards. Trump said he was asking Joe lots of questions about the military, and during the course of that conversation, said he was mulling running for president. Trump said he told Dunford, I don't know, what do you think? Should I give it a shot? He didn't say whether Dunford encouraged him, but added that he helped me form an opinion. He gave me lots of information on the workings of the military and the duties of the commander-in-chief. Trump went on to lavish praise on Dunford's career in service. He's like central casting in the role of a general, he said of Dunford. Joe Dunford was one of the most influential United States military commanders since Army Generals George Marshall, Dwight Eisenhower, Omar Bradley, and the great General George Patton, who dominated the headlines more than 70 years ago. Dunford's colleagues also note the Joint Chiefs Chairman's decision to restart military-to-military talks with his Russian counterpart, General Valery Gerasimov, in 2017, after a 3-year hiatus during Obama's term. Dunford initiated the contact to mitigate the risk of an inadvertent Russia-United States standoff in Syria, but also to begin a conversation on all the issues. Given the chill in Russia-United States relations, the Dunford-Gerasimov exchanges represented a most effective diplomatic channel and Dunford's great contribution to peace. Isn't it interesting that General Dunford was meeting with Russian and Chinese generals to set up communications and improve military-to-military relations in the months prior to Q?
As you indicated, I think we had a very productive dialogue with General Fang, and we were able to sign the Joint Staff Dialogue Mechanism, which will help move us forward on military-to-military relations. You and President Trump are committed to our improvement of military-to-military relations, and we have approached it with great commitment, candor, and we certainly want to deliver results.
In Q Post 536 from January 14th, 2018, Q said, "Have you not discovered the confirmed correlation between posts here and tweets yet?" Q Proof number 20, OIG report. In Q Post 559 from January 19th, 2018, Q disclosed 13 members of Obama's cabinet and staff were using private email addresses to communicate, which fell on deaf ears for months until the release of the OIG report, where on page 118 it says, "Former President Barack Obama was one of the 13 individuals with whom Clinton had direct contact using her ClintonEmail.com account." So how did Q know this in advance? Also, in the OIG report, it showed that the Clinton Foundation was linked to crimes against children, from the information gathered on Anthony Weiner's laptop.
Well, the latest wave of emails from Anthony Weiner, remember him, he's in prison now, and his former wife, Huma Abedin's shared laptop, have come out. They've exposed 5 more classified messages that should not legally have been there. We now know of 18 of those that were on the laptop. Tom Fitton is the president of Judicial Watch, which secured the release of these emails, and he joins us tonight with an update. Tom, how hard was it to get these?
Oh, it only took 2 years.
It took 2 years.
Federal lawsuit. The FBI found these records last year, back in October, when James Comey famously announced that at a press conference there were other documents on the Weiner laptop.
Were these documents the personal property of Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner, or were they government property which belongs to us?
Yeah, they were FBI. The FBI determined they were government records, and they were turned over to the State Department, who took forever.
So why did you have to wait 2 years and sue to get them?
Well, because we found out about Clinton's email server back in 2015. We knew Huma Abedin had an email account on that server. We asked for her emails, and they eventually found some of more additional emails on the Weiner laptop that were government records. And again, these are classified records that James Comey and his colleagues at the FBI knew were on the Weiner laptop, but didn't think serious enough to pursue criminal charges against Abedin or Clinton for allowing this egregious abuse of their trust that the American people placed in them in terms of securing classified information to be abused. You know, there are 4.5 million people, last I checked, with security clearances. They all know this is a scam, the way that Hillary Clinton and Abedin have been protected.
Very clear violations of the Espionage Act, and really no issue about intent, despite President Obama proclaiming otherwise. And of course, you realize the reason that Hillary had to be protected was because he was writing her on that secret server using an alias, which shows that he damn well knew and had approved in advance her use of the secret unsecured server. On top of that, there's the Anthony Weiner laptop, which I don't know if you heard this. I wrote an article about that too. 675,000 Clinton emails when they got Anthony Weiner's laptop in a search warrant because of all his sex perversion issues. It was all the Clinton emails, the Clinton Foundation, her Secretary of State emails, Huma Abedin's emails. Lots of people emailed Huma as a proxy for Hillary, and it included what Comey called the sorry, I must wave my hands more than most people. The golden emails, because they were the BlackBerry backup emails that they were supposedly just looking for everywhere very diligently. Well, guess what they did when they found them on the Weiner laptop? They got a search warrant for things that didn't include the BlackBerry backup emails. So when they told us, when he stood there and said that day, oh, you know, we've reviewed all the emails now, there's nothing there, that was a bald-faced lie. They specifically did not look at the BlackBerry backups, and they didn't look at a fraction of the emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop. So one of the things, if I were the president, I'd do is demand the Anthony Weiner laptop and get it to the most trusted person in the military to take apart everything on it and then start using it. There's a lot that can be prosecuted, I have no doubt, on that laptop. In fact, I heard that the New York police officers who saw some of it, even though they're hardened investigators, literally had to go throw up. It's bad.
Q-proof number 21. Heart attacks can be deadly. In Q Post 628 from the 27th of January 2018, Q posted about John Perry Barlow, whistleblower and Nobody is Safe, and also posted heart attacks can be deadly in Q Post 634 later that day. A few days after this post by Q, internet pioneer John Perry Barlow was found dead of a heart attack. So who was John Perry Barlow? Well, as a favor to Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, Barlow mentored a young JFK Jr., and the two then became lifelong friends. Despite being a freely self-confessed acid head, he served as Dick Cheney's campaign manager during Cheney's first run for Congress. After befriending a legendary early group of computer hackers known as the Legion of Doom, Barlow became a renowned internet guru, who then co-founded the groundbreaking Electronic Frontier Foundation. On February 8, 1996, John Perry Barlow published his Declaration of Independence in Cyberspace, which promoted free speech online.
A Declaration of the Independence of Cyberspace, as written by John Perry Barlow on February 8, 1996. Governments of the industrial world, you weary giants of flesh and steel, I come from cyberspace, the new home of mind. On behalf of the future, I ask you of the past to leave us alone. You are not welcome among us. You have no sovereignty where we gather. We have no elected government, nor are we likely to have one, so I address you with no greater authority than that with which liberty itself always speaks. I declare the global social space we are building to be naturally independent of the tyrannies you seek to impose on us.
Q-proof number 22. Tip Top. On January 29, 2018, an Anon asked, maybe Q can work the phrase tip top into the State of the Union as a shout out to the board. Well, this request came in the day before the State of the Union, so the speech for the event would have already been written and finalized. But we see at the Easter speech, President Trump said this phrase while standing beside a giant white rabbit, which for Anons is a reference to going down the rabbit hole from the Matrix movie, which itself is a reference to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland book by Lewis Carroll.
And we keep it in tip-top shape. We call it sometimes tippy-top shape.
Q-proof number 23. Protect 61446. In Q Post 791 from February 8th, 2018, Q posted, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Protect 61446. Protect 61446. Q+. 61446 is President Trump's birthday, and Q+ is a reference to Trump. The very next day, a driver from Trump's motorcade was discovered with a hidden gun and was arrested by the Secret Service. 2 days later, Q then posted, "The gun found by the United States Secret Service was an intercept we provided. This is not a game. Protect code went live. Code signals clean. We are moving up the timetable. Q." A few minutes later, Q posted again and highlighted the earlier Protect Trump post and asked if it was a coincidence. Q proof number 24. Suicide Weekend. Now this proof is one of the creepy examples of where Q is seemingly able to know of future events before they happen, as one of Q's sayings is future proves past. In Q Post 700 from February 9th, 2018, we see Q post next week 3 times and then Suicide Weekend. Sure enough, 3 weeks go by and that weekend someone shot himself in front of the White House. Q proof number 25. Free Flynn. In Q Post 970 from March 28th, 2018, we see that an anon posted Free Flynn and Q responded, "Done in 30. Exactly 30 days later, the House Intelligence Community released its report clearing his name. But that is probably just another coincidence, right?
Wrong.
Q proof number 26. Promises made, promises kept. In Q Post 889 from March 8th, 2018, Q posted about Trump visiting the Forbidden City in China. And then ended it with promises made, promises kept. And then, 2 days later at President Trump's now famous rally at Moon Township, Pennsylvania, he had 2 slogans up. Promises made, promises kept. And then, it is interesting to note that Beijing billed the trip as a State Visit Plus, a term it has not used for any foreign leader since the Communist Party took power in 1949, as Trump is known to anons as being Q+. A Chinese international relations expert said, "China is receiving Trump almost the way the King of Saudi Arabia did." And then Trump became the first foreign leader to dine in the Forbidden City since the founding of modern China. Q proof number 27, or T. In Q Post 892 from March 8th, 2018, Q posted the initials OR-T with a picture of the door, and the next week we found out that Rex Tillerson, the Bush-era war hawk, was fired by President Trump.
President Trump has fired the Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. In a tweet, Mr. Trump said Mr. Tillerson, with whom he had a series of disagreements, would be replaced with the head of the Central Intelligence Agency, Mike Pompeo. Mr. Pompeo is being succeeded by his deputy, Gina Haspel. The change comes as the Trump administration prepares the ground for what would be an unprecedented meeting between the U.S. President and the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
Q proof number 28. Pope has a terrible May. In Q Post 997 from the 3rd of April 2018, Q said the Pope would have a terrible May, and at the start of May, the Pope admitted to being part of the problem when it came to a huge sex scandal which saw 14 Chilean bishops step down. At the end of the month of May, the Pope said he was even considering retirement, which was a pretty terrible May. Q proof number 29, Alison Mack. Q Post 1203 from April 20th, 2018 is about Alison Mack, who was arrested for running a pretty satanic sex cult called NXIVM, where she branded her initials on victims and was involved in child trafficking. Q posted about her plea deal and how Q had told Anons about it 3 days before it happened. On April 20th, the night she was arrested, Q posted that she was naming names, but it wasn't until April 23rd that it came out that she was actually negotiating a plea deal. Q proof number 30, stay. In Q post 1319 from May 12th, 2018, Q ended the post with stay the course, and 4 minutes later, Trump ended his tweet with stay. Q proof number 31, Castle. In Q post 1473 from June 12th, 2018, Q posted Castle arrival good. Then the next day, the POTUS schedule posted good to be back at Castle. Q proof number 32, Happy Father's Day. In Q post 1530 from June 17th, 2018, Q posted Happy Father's Day with an exclamation point, and 7 minutes later, President Trump posted exactly the same. Q proof number 33, VIP Anon. As mentioned, it is believed that Q Plus is President Trump. On June 20th, 2018, President Trump held a rally in Minnesota, and as he was making his entrance, he pointed to acknowledge a patriot wearing a Q t-shirt. After the rally in Q Post 1577 from June 20th, 2018, Anon said, "Does it get more obvious than that?" And Q replied, "Together, where we go one, we go all. #winning Q." Then in Q Post 1583, Q pointed out that this Q confirmation happened exactly 17 months after President Trump's inauguration, and again asked, "Do you believe in coincidences?" VIP Anon then attended another MAGA rally in October 2018 and was provided a VIP pass to go backstage and meet President Trump. He posted explaining what happened at the rally. He had his picture taken with the president, which they said they would mail to him at a later date. Q then shared VIP Anon's tweet in Q Post 2347 saying, "Important moment in time. The picture will be the signifier and will force the Q. The question will be answered." Q then signed off with the "Where we go one, we go all" acronym in 3 brackets. VIP Anon then a few weeks later posted again to show that he had received his photo package from the White House. He said, "Here is the photo as received in the mail. No words for what is on the back of the photo." Anons have at it. We can see that on the back of the photo is a plus sign inside 3 brackets, which was the same format with brackets as what Q had posted earlier. Then we saw Q post 2401 from the 4th of November 2018, signed Q plus in 3 brackets. This tells us that Q plus is President Trump. VIP Anon's package also coincidentally arrived exactly 1 year after Q's first post. Q proof number 34, honk for Q. On July 24th, 2018, President Trump traveled to Missouri, and knowing Trump was visiting their home state, 2 Kansas residents, Kath and her daughter-in-law Caitlin, had an idea of how to get a confirmation from the Q team. Together, they made a Q sign to get a response from the president's motorcade. To make sure it was spotted, they tweeted a picture of their sign to the POTUS schedule account on Twitter, which Q had shared a week prior, to say to keep a lookout for the sign, so the Q team were aware, and let's see what happened next.
There's your home.
After the three beast vehicles drove by, one of the vehicles at the back honked, and we see in Q Post 1691 that Q acknowledged the honk was for their sign saying, "We saw you," posting a link to their request. A week later, we see in Q Post 1775 from July 21st, 2018, where Q asked, "How often does the presidential motorcade honk upon request?" which would not be normal protocol to acknowledge. Q proof number 35, from sea to shining sea. Later the same day, we see Q Post 1682 from July 24th, 2018, where Q posted with the heading "From Sea to Shining Sea" prior to the president's address later that day, and when Trump got on stage with his usual entrance music, he clearly gestured to highlight that particular line in the song.
Across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea.
Also, the name of the veteran chosen to speak on stage with President Trump is very interesting.
Not to give the mic to Alan Q. Jones when he's at a state convention or the national convention.
Q proof number 36, scot-free. Q has used the sayings "calm before the storm" and "where we go one, we go all" in a number of posts. Then in Q Post 1621 from June 28, 2018, Q asked, "Where did the storm derive from?" Q then shared a link to the movie White Squall.
They came from different places. They sailed for different reasons.
I don't want to be what I was when I left.
There you go.
Anonymous.
I will challenge them, and they will come together. Become a team.
Where we go one, we go all.
Because where he was taking them,
What are they doing?
claiming their place in the world, could not be measured in miles. They thought they had survived the greatest challenge of their lives. We had come through every kind of seas imaginable.
Except a white squall.
But it was only
White squalls are a phenomenon of the imagination.
the calm. What happened to my ship was not imagined before the storm. A film about loyalty. Where we go one, we go all. Discovery.
But we're a crew. That's what this whole thing is about. Captain, they're only boys.
They're much more than that, sir.
And we are still here.
White Squall. Based on a true story.
In President Trump's tweet from December 2018, he mentioned the expression "scot-free" in capitals, as if it was someone's name, which drove the media into a frenzy about this apparent error. But this was actually bait set by Q and Trump, as later that day we see Q say in post 2543, "The art of trolling the fake news media. Step 1. Q shared a link to Trump's scot-free tweet. Step 2. Q asked who is scot-free and shared a link to a People.com article criticizing Trump's alleged typo. Who is scot-free? Step 3. Q provided a link to a film production company, Scot-Free Productions, which so happens to be the production company which made the movie White Squall, which Q had referenced previously. White Squall, where we go one, we go all, from the movie. Thank you for playing Q. Q proof number 37, trip code. All users on the channels post under unique trip codes for the user to log in. Here we see some of Q's trip codes, which Q sometimes updates to ensure the account is kept secure. On August 5th, 2018, Q updated the trip codes. We see Q confirming the trip code in Q Post 1820 and using the new trip code in Q Post 1821. A few hours later, President Trump coincidentally tweeted what looked like a careless mistake. missing a space at the end of a sentence, leaving an exclamation mark, and the letter A placed together, where this mistake mirrored the first 2 digits of Q's new trip code, which was also an exclamation mark and the letter A. This seems like President Trump's subtle attempt to verify Q's new trip code to Anons. Q proof number 38. Border security is national security. In Q Post 2502 from November 25th, 2018, Q posted that border security is national security. 17 days later, the White House posted border security is national security. Q proof number 39. Gingerbread crumbs. On December 12th, 2018, the Trump Hotel in Chicago shared a video on social media promoting the gingerbread elevator for the Christmas celebrations. Q shared a link to this in Q Post 2591 saying, "Trolling the mainstream media can be fun. If we watch this clip, we see there are some hidden clues. With the stockings over the fireplace, we see a stocking out for a person with their name beginning with Q. Q then posted in Q Post 2592, T and Q placed together, what a coincidence. Later an Anon pointed out that it was an O stocking with tape added to make it a Q. In Post 2595, Q asked, how many names start with a Q? What are the odds of a Q stocking? What are the odds of a Q stocking next to a T stocking? How many stockings in total? How many letters used? Logical thinking. A little holiday fun for the fake news media. Think elf on a shelf. Can you find the next one? Q. In Q Post 2598, another Anon pointed out that in the picture over the fireplace, Santa was holding a hammer, which is an interesting coincidence as Q had mentioned a hammer, as in hammer of justice, in previous posts. And the Anon also pointed out that the photo on the wall was also signed QA for Q and the Anons. Q proof number 40. Enjoy the show. Q has posted the saying enjoy the show many times, and we see President Trump incorporate this Q expression into his tweet from the 15th of June 2019. Q proof number 41. Q baby. At a Trump rally on June 17, 2019, a Trump-supporting couple brought along their baby that they had dressed in a Q t-shirt. When President Trump went out of his way to highlight the baby and get people to take a picture of the scene.
But actually, they respect us. That's more important. Look at that beautiful baby. Look at that beautiful baby. Wow, what a baby. What a baby. That is a beautiful baby. That's like from an advertisement. Perfect. Look how happy that baby is. So beautiful. Thank you, darling. That's really nice. So it's a great thing. Is that your husband? That's a great thing. Thank you. Congratulations, husband. Man. What a picture. Well, we're going to have the country all set for your child, okay? All set. Because that's what it's about. Now, the media will say that's a prop. They say, no baby's so beautiful. That had to be a setup. I never saw that guy in my life, which is true. Thank you. Good luck. Thank you very much.
The baby was also later featured in a slideshow President Trump shared to Twitter. Q proof number 42. Q just watch. Here we see Trump with a slight pronunciation error saying, Q just watch.
But we're going to win, and we're going to win big. You just watch. We have the cards. They don't. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning. Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
Q-proof number 43. Return power to the people. Q-Post 35 from November the 1st, 2017 included the line "Power to the people." And exactly 1 year later, on November 1st, 2018, which is called a 1-year delta in the Q-proofs, we see President Trump say this.
Because we really have to bypass the media because it's so one-sided and unfair in order to get straight to the American people. That's what we're doing. Reporters, journalists, others, they're fine people, but some are not honest, and we have to just go around them. We just have to go around them, and we have gone around them like nobody in history has ever gone around them.
President Trump then tweeted after the rally saying, "Returning power to you, the American people." Q then shared graphics Anons had put together explaining the Q-proof in Q-Post 2385 from November the 2nd, 2018. Mathematically impossible or every detail planned. Today, 1 year ago, where we go one, we go all. Q. Q-proof number 44, pointing at Q. We have seen Trump pointing at patriots with Q signs and Q cutouts. To be extra clear, Trump even double pointed at the Q sign in this example. Q addresses this in Q-Post 2420 from November the 5th, 2018, where Q quotes President Trump. Did they get the shot? I pointed directly at it 3 times. I turned and double pointed just to be clear. Did they pick up the boom, 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 something is happening? Yes, Mr. President, Anons are actively tracking. Message received. Good, that's good. Q. Q-proof number 45. Air Q. President Trump often likes to do air Qs for his supporters. We even see Trump do an air Q back when he first announced the calm before the storm, when surrounded by top military officials in the Oval Office, before the first ever post by Q.
You guys know what this represents? Well, maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm. These people, I look at them, I say, that's elite. We got more money, we got more brains, we got better houses, apartments, we got nicer boats, we're smarter than they are. And they say, the elite, we're the elite, you're the elite.
We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much, Mississippi. Get out and vote. Thank you.
Q-proof number 46. These people are sick. Another of Q's frequently used expressions is, "These people are sick," which Q has said in almost 30 drops, which are normally about the deep state's more sinister crimes. It has been fun for Anons watching Trump incorporate this Q expression into conferences, interviews, and rallies.
These people are sick. These people are sick. These people are sick. These people are sick. They're sick. These people are sick. I'm telling you, they're sick. These people are sick. These people are sick. There's something wrong with them. These people are sick. They're sick.
At a rally at Grand Rapids on March 28, 2019, Trump seemed to read this saying from the auto cue instead of saying it as an off-the-cuff remark added to his speech, meaning this cue saying was written into his speech beforehand. This rally at Grand Rapids also happened to be the 17th month anniversary of the first post by Q.
These people are sick.
Q-proof number 47. Stray Q. On January 3rd, 2020, President Trump tweeted with a stray Q at the end, and after it was deleted, a new corrected post was put up 17 minutes and 27 seconds after the original. So if we add the digits from the 17 minutes and 27 seconds, the 1, the 7, the 2, and the 7, we get 17. Q-proof number 48. Flynn Declaration. General Flynn posted a clip to Twitter on the 4th of July holiday in 2020. In the video, Flynn leads a small group in reciting a generic oath of office, the same oath taken by members of Congress. After finishing the oath, Flynn said the Q phrase, "Where we go one, we go all."
Enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
And that I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Of the office on which I am about to enter.
Of the office of which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Where we go one, we go all.
Where we go one, we go all.
God bless America.
God bless America.
It has also been noted that General Flynn has also signed his book with the same Q slogan, "Where we go one, we go all." General Flynn features in the Q posts 59 times and has been targeted by the deep state because, as Q said, Flynn knows where the bodies are buried and is a threat to Obama. Obama famously warned Trump not to hire Flynn after Flynn had called out Obama's funding of the Syrian rebels, who are actually ISIS, to oust elected Syrian President Bashar al-Assad.
General Flynn, let me start where Tony Shaffer left off, suggesting that you and others had been trying to warn this administration about the threat actually posed by ISIS for some time. He believes your testimony before Congress to that effect is what led to you being forced out as DIA chief. Is that true?
Well, Megan, what I would just tell you is that I believe the intelligence assessments that the president has received over the last few years have been actually pretty accurate.
They've created ISIS. Hillary Clinton created ISIS with Obama. Created with Obama.
When Trump hired Flynn as his national security advisor, the deep state attacked Flynn with the Russia, Russia, Russia hoax. General Flynn is very close with the Trump family and has been asked about QAnon several times by the media. General Flynn is famous for not revealing one's plans to the enemy, so obviously Flynn cannot come out and admit, "Yep, the Q operation is real, folks." And these proofs in relation to Flynn remind us of what Q has often posted, that optics are important.
Hello, Flynn. How you doing?
Great. How's life?
Pretty good. How are you doing? Did you believe that QAnon was real?
You mean Blue Anon?
No.
What's so funny about that?
No, QAnon. No, because there was just the HBO doc, and it said
that. Why did you laugh at
that Ron Watkins is
What's your
QAnon.
name?
Do you think Ron Watkins is QAnon?
Well, seriously, why did you laugh at that?
Do you believe that QAnon was an actual military personnel?
Why do you laugh at what I just said?
I'm laughing because it's funny, because it's so fucking stupid. Because Q is just a dumb thing. It's funny.
Go on this side over here. Let me go, this man right here in the tank top. Go ahead. About what?
Q. What could you tell her about Q?
It's the 17th letter of the alphabet. And I'm questioning my time that I have left. Like maybe I don't have it. Okay. God bless you all. God bless America. Thank you so much. Keep fighting.
Q-proof number 49. Admiral Rogers. An important patron in the Q community is Michael S. Rogers, who is a retired 4-star admiral of the United States Navy. Rogers served as the second commander of the United States Cyber Command from April 2014 to May 2018, while concurrently serving as the 17th director of the National Security Agency and as chief of the Central Security Service. 4 years after the Obama administration had set up a secret FBI spy portal inside the nation's top Democratic law firm Perkins Coie, former NSA Director Admiral Mike Rogers was alerted to the fact that the 702 query system was being exploited and abused for partisan political purposes. So he blew the whistle and temporarily shut the system down while a review took place. He went personally to the FISA court and briefed the chief judge and worked with her for months to uncover the people who did it. In fact, it was this great American hero patriot himself who traveled to Trump Tower on November 17, 2016, to brief then President-elect Donald Trump that communications from the building were being tapped. He did not notify his superior, then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, beforehand. On that same day, the Trump transition team abruptly announced they were leaving Trump Tower and moving their operations to Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. 2 days later, the Washington Post reported that James Clapper and Defense Secretary Ash Carter had recommended the removal of Mike Rogers from his NSA position. That didn't happen, but Rogers announced his retirement on January 5, 2018, after heading the National Security Agency for nearly 4 years. Here is a relevant Q drop 3389 from July 9, 2019. AG and Rogers meeting, Durham and Rogers meetings. Why did Rogers retire? Why did Rogers visit POTUS at Trump Tower without authorization shortly after a skiff was installed? Why did select former ABC directors call for the removal of Rogers? Why did POTUS move his Transition Command Center base of operations from Trump Tower the very next day? Q.
The President and his spokesman Sean Spicer have suggested that British intelligence, through its NSA or GCHQ, wiretapped Mr. Trump on President Obama's behalf. Did you ever request that your counterparts in GCHQ should wiretap Mr. Trump on behalf of President Obama?
No, sir, nor would I. That would be expressly against the construct of the Five Eyes Agreement that's been in place for decades.
And the Five Eyes are some of our closest intelligence partners, and Britain is one of them.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen any evidence that anyone else in the Obama administration made such a request?
No, sir, and again, my view is the same as Director Comey. I've seen nothing on the NSA side that we engaged in any such activity, nor that anyone ever asked us to engage in such activity.
And if you were to ask the British to spy on America, that would be a violation of U.S. law, would it not?
Yes, sir.
Q-proof number 50. The best is yet to come. To finish, Q often posts, "The best is yet to come," which, as we see, has now become a very popular thing for President Trump to say.
We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. America will soon be thriving like never before because, ladies and gentlemen of Oklahoma, the best is yet to come.
Our society has been hijacked by forces of evil, with governments acting as organized crime cartels, using media tools of deception to pacify and manipulate the public. It is now beyond reasonable doubt that Q is a military intelligence operation at the heart of the Trump administration. This is a war for credibility and legitimacy, with a battle now emerging from the shadows into the public eye. It maintains a civil facade for show, to avoid panic and societal meltdown. The Q team has access to everything the NSA has ever collected, and that of over a dozen other US intelligence agencies. Q has said 10 times, "We have it all." The criminal surveillance state has been turned upon itself. Q uses the Socratic method, which is a form of argumentative dialogue between individuals based on asking and answering questions. This way, Q is able to point anons in certain directions without breaching national security protocols. Q has been getting us ready for this to go public in a big way for some time now, encouraging logical thinking and discernment after so many years of brainwashing from the mainstream propaganda. Q is essentially a boot camp for awakening newbies that encourages the need of evidence and more logic-based thinking through using the Socratic method, as asking the questions made people go look for the answers. Q has given alternative media and citizen journalists two digital warriors an open source framework, which has allowed them in turn to stand up to the establishment media and challenge their narrative in the information war. The Q drops demonstrate that what is unfolding is part of a managed process of justice that has been thought through with precision. It gives ordinary people awakening to the nightmare confidence in a plan for resolution. Most countries around the world have been infiltrated from within by an institutionalized system of transactional crime to try to bring out a globalist system of totalitarian rule. The people of the world are sick and tired of being set against each other by powerful criminals who want us divided so they can continue to rape, steal from, and exploit us. Currently, the gravest threat to the world is the corrupt mainstream media, who has been taken over by a powerful cabal. They have been lying to us for decades, twisted our minds, and led us down a path of darkness. The evidence is all around you. The only way we can defeat this evil is by removing their power. Remember, there is no QAnon. There is Q and the Anons. What Q is presenting us with is the end game of a process that has been in progress for decades. The assassination of JFK was a coup d'etat, initiated by deep state forces against the formal government. JFK was undoing the power of the private central banking cartel, and they moved to terminate him before he could complete the plan. This is now the long-awaited counter-coup by American patriots to re-establish the full original republic. It is the Second American Revolution, whose goal is largely the same as the first one: freedom from unaccountable powers of aristocracy and transactional finance. The mafia media is the last bastion of this deep state organized crime network that has slowly infiltrated and hijacked many critical institutions. Its days are numbered, and its inevitable collapse will likely be fast and shocking to those unaware of what is unfolding. Whilst the Anons that have been following Q will be like,
Then peace will guide the planets, and love will steer the stars. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius.
we are truly living in historic times. In the age of information, which has allowed us to connect with each other all around the world. Anons and patriots have been engaged in an information war against the deep state cabal's mockingbird media. We are not just going to allow our freedoms handed to us by our patriot forefathers to be given up to a group of elitist cult members for their communist Great Reset. We are all in this together with of humanity. They never expected such an organized resistance of global patriots. We have broken the hold of the establishment mainstream media's control of the minds of the public. Information is dropping every day that destroys their narrative. The deep state cabal are in panic mode. They want us divided and weak, but it is our nature to be loving, empathetic, strong and compassionate. Wherever we are, we will become the plan when we choose to reject what they called globalism. We are witnessing a great awakening for humanity, which will result in a new financial system, world peace, and the arrests of the secret societies that have been meddling in the affairs of sovereign countries. We will leave the deep state cabal behind and will move forward together into a golden age of peace and prosperity. We will grow and learn to focus on what is important in life, as we are all just passing through until our next mission. It's time to turn off the media, follow your instincts, trust yourself, and be the plan. Now it is our turn to shine. It's always good to end a movie with a quote, as someone else has already said it best. So if you can't top it, steal it from them and go out strong. So I picked a guy I thought you'd like. Our goal is not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom. Here in this hemisphere, and we hope, around the world. President John F. Kennedy. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for watching and for your support.
How to cleanse the body after vaccination?
To cleanse the body after vaccination, one must first understand the magnitude of what has been injected. Beyond the surface ingredients, hidden adjuvants like aluminum salts, graphene oxide, polyethylene glycol, and undisclosed nanotechnologies infiltrate the body, embedding themselves into tissues, crossing the blood-brain barrier, and hijacking cellular processes. First, targeted detoxification of heavy metals becomes critical. Glutathione, the master detoxifier, must be replenished aggressively, as vaccination depletes it intentionally to leave the immune system vulnerable. Intravenous or liposomal forms ensure direct cellular absorption, bypassing digestive sabotage.
Elixir is here now and completely disrupting the health supplement market. Nothing else out there allows you to transform your daily routine with the power quartet of our proprietary Stasis nanotechnology glutathione, vitamin B12, vitamin D3, and MCT oil. Imagine starting your day feeling energized, focused, detoxed, light, vibrant, and ready to conquer anything. Glutathione is your body's master antioxidant, fighting off those nasty free radicals and detoxing you from toxins like heavy metals, microplastics, and forever chemicals. It has also been shown to help your body restore hair color and helps with memory and learning. And it helps maintain healthy skin and processes that reduce the signs of aging and degeneration. Elixir gives you the best nutritional foundation you can find in one supplement. The performance boost and results you gain from Elixir are far superior to any other supplement currently on the market. This is the holy grail of singular supplements today. With our advanced proprietary Stasis nanotechnology, the vital nutrients in our Elixir formula are absorbed immediately in the mouth, bypassing the hostile digestive tract, which gives you the boost you need, right when you need it. So why wait?
Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for